I'm Anil Kumar, and here is another video on equivalent trigonometric functions, and we are basically talking about very interesting and important concepts which will help you to understand the whole chapter. The question here is, write equivalent expressions to represent the graph below. Now what we have given here is a graph of cosine function. It starts with the maximum value of 1, minimum value is -1, time period is 2 pi. So what we have here is a graph of y equals to cos of x, right? Now, equivalent trigonometric functions. How can I write the same function as different equations? That is the question. Can you write this as sine function, for example? So yes, we can. For sine function, we have to see that this sine function actually starts from the axis, right, like this point, and it goes upwards. So that is the starting point for the sine function, right? So what we see here is that the sine function has started minus pi by 2 earlier, right? So what we can do here is we can write this same function as y equals to sine of x plus pi by 2. Correct? So this wave, if you're looking at as a sine wave, it started pi by 2 earlier, so it could be written as sine of pi by 2. Well, there's another way of writing the same equation as a sine function. You can consider this point on the right side. So the sine wave also starts from here, right? So what is this point? Well, 1 pi by 2, 2 pi by 2, 3 pi by 2. So that is 3 pi by 2. So I could write this equation considering this point as y equals to sine of x minus 3 pi by 2, since we are on the right side of origin by pi by 2. So that's another way of writing the same equation. Do you consider? So I hope you are finding it interesting, but all are equivalent trigonometric functions. Well, if I consider this point, then can you write equation of this function as a sine function? Well, at this point it is going downwards. So I should write this as, let me use a different ink and also mark the point so that you really understand why. So it's going downwards. That means it is y of negative because the sine wave goes downwards. And which wave are we talking about? The wave which has moved pi by 2 to the right. So in this case, this represents equation of the same graph. Do you understand? Likewise, we can actually write many different equations, and all are equivalent equations since they all represent the same graph, right? Okay, let me write the last equation this time starting from here. So it looks like cosine wave has been inverted, so we can write this as minus cos x, and how much did I move right? By pi, so minus pi. So that gives me the same function as a cosine function with a negative sign. I hope you understand and appreciate how this periodic sine wave can be written in so many different forms. And that brings us to this chapter of equivalent trigonometric functions. And all we are going to do in this chapter is to understand the same point with different perspectives. Keep this in mind, and I hope this will help you a lot to understand this chapter and move forward. Thank you and all the best.